Hello everyone and welcome back to this EPFO course of Scholar IAS. I'm Gaurav and I'll take you through the syllabus of polity for your EPFO examination. In the previous lecture, we learnt about various acts and regulations that were passed by the East India Company as well as the British government to establish the legislative system in the Indian subcontinent. In today's lecture, we'll first move forward and talk about the Constituent Assembly, which was entrusted with the task of framing the Constitution of Independent India. And then we'll move forward and talk about the various features of the Indian Constitution that we have borrowed from different countries of the world. So let's start. So the first is Constituent Assembly. This assembly held its first meeting on 9th of December in the year 1946. Now this idea of having an assembly just to frame the constitution of India was first time proposed by a person known as Manabendra Nath Roy, that is M.N. Roy. He is also known as the father of communism in India, and he was the founder of this Communist Party in India. And this Communist Party in India was founded in the year 1934. So M.N. Roy ने सबसे पहली बार ये प्रपोज किया था कि there should be a constituent assembly which should be entrusted with the task of framing the constitution for independent India. This proposal of M.N. Roy, it became a demand of Indian National Congress in the year 1935. Now, this proposal was accepted by the Britishers in the year 1940 in August offer. I hope you know what August offer is. If not, then go through the lectures of history. Now, the draft of the Constitution of India was prepared by this committee, that is this Constituent Assembly ने एक draft बनाया था. This draft included the area that are now in Pakistan and Bangladesh. This committee at that time, there were no different committees for Pakistan and India. There was one constituent assembly for both the countries. This assembly at that time in the initial days had 296 seats, out of which Congress had won 208, while All India Muslim League has acquired 73, while the remaining 15 seats were occupied by women. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was the first president of India, was also the president of this constituent assembly, while Jawaharlal Nehru was chosen to be the Union Head of States Committee. Remember these facts. Jawaharlal Nehru was the head of Union Heads of State Committee, while Rajendra Prasad was the president of Constituent Assembly. Let's move forward. Now, in this very meeting, the Muslim League started their demand that we want a separate country for Muslim-dominated population in the northwestern countries. This Constituent Assembly, it had 284 members, out of which 15 were women. See, the number of seats and number of members, they always differ. So there were 284 members, out of which 15 were women. Now, very important date was 29th of August 1947. On this date, the Constituent Assembly, through a resolution, they appointed a drafting committee. Very important. So, drafting committee kab aayi? The resolution for a drafting committee was passed on 29th of August 1947. Now, this drafting committee had 7 members. You need to remember the name of each and every member. They were Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, N. Gopalaswamy, B.R. Ambedkar, K.M. Munshi, Mohammad Sadullah, B.L. Mittar, and D.P. Khetan. At its first meeting, that is on 30th August 1947, this drafting committee appointed B.R. Ambedkar as its chairman. So, 3 facts. First is, this drafting committee was constituted on 29th of August 1947. Its first meeting was on 30th August 1947. And on this meeting, they elected B.R. Ambedkar as its chairman. And you also need to remember that there were 7 members in this drafting committee and their names also. The drafting committee submitted their draft in November of 1949. That is 2 साल बाद around इनने अपना draft submit किया. After the submission, it took 3 years to complete. All 284 members of the Constituent Assembly, they signed this document, that is the draft, on January 24th, 1950. The Constitution came into effect on January 26, 1915. The national emblem of India, that is this Ashokan pillar, that is the national emblem of India, that was too adopted on the same day, that is on 26th of January 1915. So I hope this is clear to all of you. Let's go through these facts once again. So this Constituent Assembly had 284 members, out of which 15 were women. Drafting committee was constituted on 29th of August 1947. Its first meeting held on the very next day, that is 30th of August 1947. In this meeting, B.R. Ambedkar was elected as the chairman of this drafting committee. This draft was submitted in November 1945. All 284 members of the Constituent Assembly, they signed this document on January 24, 1915, and the Constitution came into effect on January 26. I hope this is clear. Now, the Indian Constitution currently had 448 articles. They are divided into 25 parts, and we have 12 schedules as well, and 5 appendices. And this Constitution of India has been amended for 100 plus times. The Constitution of India is the longest written constitution of any independent country in the world. Just remember this fact. हमारा constitution सबसे बड़ा है. Why it is so lengthy constitution? Because India is the seventh largest country. Apart from that, it is home to the most diverse communities in the world. This is one thing, and this is why the constitution is so elaborate. This constitution, it was adopted on 26th of November 1914. This date is also mentioned in the preamble of the constitution, which says that we hereby adopt, enact, and give ourselves this constitution. While it came into force, that is, all the provisions of the constitution, they came into force on January 26, 1915, when all the members of the Constituent Assembly signed the document. I hope you'll remember that these two dates, this November 26, 1949, this date is mentioned in the Constitution's preamble. The Indian Constitution was not typeset or a printed, that is, it's कुछ छपाई लिखाई कुछ नहीं की गई थी. It was handwritten and calligraphed both in English and Hindi by a person named as Prem Bihari Narayan Raizada. Remember this name as well. So it was Prem Bihari Narayan Raizada who handwrote or calligraphed this Constitution of India both in Hindi as well as in English. I hope this part is clear to all of you. Now let's move forward. Constitution Day and B.R. Ambedkar. Now, the 26th November on which the Constitution was adopted and enacted, partly this day is celebrated as the Constitution Day in India. It is in Hindi, it is known as Samvidhan Divas, and we are celebrating this day since 2015, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi marked while laying the foundation stone of B.R. Ambedkar Memorial in Mumbai. So while laying the foundation of this memorial, he announced that from now on, 26th November will be celebrated as Samvidhan Divas. Now, B.R. Ambedkar was a renowned social reformer, politician, jurist. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. He is also known as the father of Indian Constitution. Just remember this. He is known as the father of Indian Constitution. He was appointed as the chairman of drafting committee. This committee was constituted on 29th of August 1947, and on the very next day he was appointed as the chairman of this committee, that is on 30th of August 1947. So this was the contribution of B.R. Ambedkar. I hope this is clear. Let's move forward. Now we'll talk about various features of the Indian Constitution that we have borrowed from countries around the world. First, let's talk about what we have borrowed from Australia. Now we have borrowed the concept of concurrent list, freedom of trade, and joint sitting of the two houses of the parliament from Australia. Now, in the last class, we talked about the distribution of subjects between the center and state. We have a union list, we have a state list, we have a concurrent list. So this concurrent list, this feature of concurrent list, with this we have borrowed from Australia. Division of subject into three lists, it is mentioned in the article 246 of the Constitution. I hope you remember this. Now there is another feature, that is the joint sitting of the two houses of the parliament. See, whenever there is a deadlock regarding some bill, there is a provision of joint sitting that is provided in the Constitution of India under Article 108. So we have also borrowed this feature from the Australian Constitution or the Australian Parliament. One another thing is, there is no feature of joint sitting of the two houses in case there is a deadlock regarding the Constitutional Amendment Act. If you want to amend the constitution, both the houses need to pass the bill separately, and there is no provision for joint sitting in case of a deadlock. I hope you'll remember this fact. We'll also discuss this fact further, but for now, just remember this. Now, from Germany, we have borrowed the feature of suspension of fundamental rights during the emergency. See, under Article 352, empowers the government to proclaim the national emergency. Why is it proclaimed national emergency? There are so many reasons, like if there is an aggression, external aggression, or there is an armed rebellion within the country. So under these circumstances, the constitution provides the provision for national emergency, and when the national emergency is proclaimed, there are a few fundamental rights that get suspended. For example, अगर कहीं कुछ terror attack चल रहा है, so you cannot have freedom of expression कि आप वहां पे जाके एकदम फोटो वोटो खींचने लगो और उसको पोस्ट करने लगो. So this is why this provision has been included, and we have borrowed this provision from Germany. Let's move forward, and we have borrowed so many provisions from United Kingdom. Why? Because they ruled over the Indian subcontinent for so many years. So कुछ कुछ तो चीजें ऐसी थी which were already there in India, so we were familiar with that system. So that is why we adopted that system. So the first is the parliamentary form of government. What is a parliamentary form of government? Parliamentary form of a government is a one in which there is a parliament and all the legislative, they are responsible to the parliament and Lok Sabha in particular. What is the meaning of this, that they are responsible to Lok Sabha? That is, by passing a motion in the parliament, no confidence motion, the whole government can collapse. Now we have a nominal head, that is president. He is known as the nominal head because he cannot do anything on his own. He has to act on the advice of prime minister, which in turn acts on the advice of his council of minister. So we have also borrowed this feature from United Kingdom. So the president in India and the queen in England, they are somewhat similar. The only difference is that queen's post is hereditary, while in India we are republic. President जो होता है, that is elected representative. We also have the post of prime minister, just as United Kingdom, that also has the post of prime minister. And we have two houses. One is the Rajya Sabha and one is the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha is known as the lower house and Rajya Sabha is known as the upper house. So there is this feature that Lok Sabha, that is the lower house, is more powerful than upper house, that is Rajya Sabha. Why? See, there is one instance that money bill cannot be amended or rejected by Rajya Sabha. All the amendments into the money bill can only be done by lower house. So this is one feature why the lower house is more powerful than upper house. So we have borrowed this feature from United Kingdom. Second is we have the provision of single citizenship. That is, if you are living in India, you are an Indian citizen. You are not the citizen of any state of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh or Gujarat. There is single citizenship for everyone. That is the citizenship of India. Unlike United States, which has the provision of dual citizenship. Suppose if you are living in the state of Texas in United States, you have dual citizenship, one of United States of America and second is of Texas. We have cabinet system. Cabinet system is portfolios are allocated to various ministers. This is all, we have also borrowed this from United Kingdom. Second is bicameral parliament, that is the division of parliament between the upper house and lower house. This is known as bicameral parliament. So we have also borrowed this from United Kingdom. Now we have a Speaker of Lok Sabha. You all must have come across this Lok Sabha meetings जब भी चल रही होती है तो एक आदमी वहाँ माइक लेके बैठा रहता है. That post is the Speaker of Lok Sabha. We have borrowed this from the United Kingdom. We have also borrowed a feature known as rule of law from United Kingdom. What is the meaning of this rule of law? It has two provisions. That is, nobody is above the law and everybody is equal in the eyes of law. So we have borrowed this principle from United Kingdom. It was proposed by a person known as A.V. Dicey. Last is the legislative procedure of how the bill is brought to the parliament and how it is passed. The whole system, the whole procedure is borrowed from United Kingdom. See, India has borrowed so many features from different countries, but we have not borrowed them in actual essence. Like that practice in US is not similar to India. We have made necessary amendments to suit the Indian condition in every provision that we have borrowed. I hope this is clear to all of you. So let's move forward and talk about United States of America. So this United Kingdom, it has a constitution, but the constitution of United Kingdom is not a written constitution. On the other hand, United States of America has a written constitution and India also has a written constitution. So we have borrowed this from United States of America. Now, impeachment of president. What is impeachment? Impeachment है president को अपनी post से कैसे हटाना है, इसका एक process होता है, and that process is known as impeachment. So that whole process we have borrowed from United States of America. Apart from that, Supreme Court, the provision of independent judiciary, all these provisions are also borrowed from United States. Apart from that, there is a federal structure prevalent in India, that is the power is divided between the central government and the state government. Apart from that, there is also a territorial distinction in between the states. So this provision has also been borrowed from the United States of America. There is a difference in this as well. In United States of America, it is destructible union of indestructible state. That is, as the name suggests, they are the United States of America. So the states are united, but that this union of states can be broken and the states in itself, its boundary cannot be altered. So that is why they are known as destructible union of indestructible states, while on the other hand, India is indestructible union of destructible states. That is, the central government can alter the boundary of any state. They can change the name of any state. I hope this part is clear to all of you. Now, the functions of president and vice president, they are also borrowed from United States of America, and the procedure of removal of judge of Supreme Court and High Court. So, the removal procedure of the president, Supreme Court, High Court, all of them have been borrowed from United States of America. Now, we also have a preamble of the Constitution. This concept of preamble of the Constitution is also borrowed from the United States of America. I hope you'll remember this. Now we have fundamental rights. They are mentioned in part 3 of the Constitution from Article 12 to Article 35. So they are more elaborately written, and these fundamental rights, they have been borrowed from the United States of America. Apart from that, we also have one provision in the judiciary, that is of judicial review. So this feature of judicial review, it is also borrowed from USA. So let's move forward and talk about what we have borrowed from South Africa. Now, the procedure in which the constitution is amended and the procedure of election of member of Rajya Sabha, both of these procedures have been borrowed from South Africa. See, I have already told you that there is no provision for joint sitting in case of constitutional amendment bill. So इसलिए ये बहुत ज़्यादा important है constitution amendment की जहाँ भी बातें आती हैं. So you need to remember two facts currently. No procedure for joint sitting, and the procedure of amendment of the constitution has been borrowed from South Africa. I hope this is clear to all of you. Now, next is Japan. From Japan, we have borrowed this concept known as the procedure established by law. What is this procedure established by law? See, everything that parliament में pass होती है, that is sometimes these laws are often checked by the judiciary. So at that time, what Indian judiciary checks is the procedure established by law. What it means is they'll check that while enacting a law, while making a bill into an act, all the procedure they are followed or not. While on the other hand, there is another concept known as due process of law, which is followed in America. Under this due process, the judiciary checks the intent behind the act as well. That practice is not in India. We only check whether the bill that is being converted into an act, it has followed all the laws and procedures that are established by law. I hope this part is clear to all of you. So no need to go into the details. Just remember this, that the feature of procedure established by law, we have borrowed this from Japan. So the next thing is fundamental duties. They are enshrined in part 4A of the Constitution, and we have borrowed these from Russia. I hope this part is clear. Apart from that, the ideals of social, economical, and political justice that are enshrined in the preamble of the India are also borrowed from Russia. I hope these parts are clear to all of you. Now, from Ireland, we have borrowed the concept of directive principles of state policy. First thing first, what are the directive principles of state policies? कुछ एक ऐसे principle हैं that are must for the state to include in the policies that they are formulating. So they are the moral principles that the state needs to include while formulating a particular law. So we have borrowed this from Ireland. Apart from that, few members in the Rajya Sabha, they are nominated, like Rekha, Sachin, Vijay Mallya. These are not the elected members, they are the nominated members. And who nominate the members to the Rajya Sabha? It is the President on the aid and advice of Prime Minister and the Council of Minister. So this nomination feature, we have also borrowed this from Ireland. Apart from that, method of election of president has been borrowed from Ireland. Whenever the name of France comes, I remember of this French Revolution. And what were the ideals that were glorified in the French Revolution? They were liberty, equality, and fraternity. And all these three principles, they are included in the preamble of India, and we have borrowed them from France. Apart from that, the ideals of a republic, which are mentioned in the preamble, they are also borrowed from France. I hope this part is clear to all of you. Now let's move forward. The next is Canada. Federation with a strong center. See, what is a federation? Federation where the power is divided between the center and the state. So India, we should say, is not a total federation or complete federation. Scholars call it a quasi-federal country. Why? Because of some provisions like the emergency provision is there. There is an integrated judiciary. So there are so many features, around 14 features are there. You need not to go into details, but just remember that in India, the central government is more powerful than state government, and there are provision where the power of the state government can pass into the hands of central government, like the emergency provision is there, like the president's rule is there, where these states are directly administered by the central government. So this feature has been borrowed from Canada. Vesting of residuary powers with the center. Apart from that, appointment of state government by the center. It is another feature why we are saying that central government is more powerful than the state, because the head of the executive in the state government, that is the state governor, that is appointed by the central government and not the state government. There is advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, that is President can ask for the advice of Supreme Court under Article 143 of the Constitution. So this is also borrowed from Canada. I hope this part is clear to all of you. Now let's take up one quick question. Which of the following feature of the Indian Constitution was adopted from the British parliamentary system? Nominal head, president, lower house more powerful, rule of law, or all the above. So without wasting any time, let's start the discussion. See, there is a nominal head, which is the president, just like British has queen. This feature has been borrowed from United States, but we have made the necessary amendment, like the president in India is elected, and that is why India is a republic. Unlike the United Kingdom setup, where the position of queen is hereditary. The lower house is more powerful in India as well as in British, and there is a rule of law which we have borrowed from British system as well. So all of the above is the right answer. D is the correct answer. See, question can appear like this, so you need to remember what we have borrowed from where. Go through the list 2 to 3 times and they'll get consolidated in your brain. So this finishes our first module, that is the making of the constitution. We'll take up the next module in the next class. That's all from my side. Thank you.